Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the 5 Rounds Podcast, the only podcast out there with the cardio for those deep water championship rounds. I am Mags, and I've just finished watching UFC Fight Night, headlined by Curtis Blaydes taking on Chris Daukaus. Before we get to the main event, let's quickly run through these prelims, and a hell of a lot of decisions on this card, very decision heavy. Massive contrast to last week's UK card, but it is what it is. So we started in the featherweight division. Luis Saldana picking up the decision against Bruno Souza. Went down to the flyweight division for Mateus Nicolau getting the decision against David Dvorak. Another decision, this time in the women's flyweight division. Manon Fiorot got the decision against Jennifer Maia. Up into the men's middleweight division, the first finish was Alice Cab Kizriev getting the second round sub on Dennis Tulin. Then another finish with Chris Gutierrez getting the second round knockout of Dana Batgarel in the bantamweight division, and then the featured prelim was Sarah McMahon getting the decision against Carol Rosa. So on to the main card. This was a 6-fight main card. Started the night with Mark Diakese taking on Vyacheslav Borshev in the lightweight division. And like I said earlier, it was a very decision-heavy card. The first 4 fights of this 6-fight main card all going to decision, with only the co-main event and the main event actually getting finishes. But yeah, this Mark Diakese, known for mainly being a striker and having a real kind of weak point in his wrestling game. But in this fight, he really kind of showed just how much he's adapted that game plan. Definitely coming into this fight, needing a win, was consistently trading wins and losses throughout his UFC career. And yeah, he's come out with the decision victory, and a very one-sided decision. It made it look pretty easy against Borshev. Started with basically taking the initiative and landing some strikes first. Went for the takedown. Borshev was able to defend pretty well against the fence, but DKC was just like a pit bull. wasn't going to give up, and it was eventually able to get to the ground. There were a couple of positions scrambles, and Borshev ended up actually taking the back of DKC. Does let it go. Lands some punches, and Diakese takes a step back. Is able to kind of re-establish his game plan. Goes for another takedown. Gets the takedown, but Borshev is able to get back to his feet. But then just as he's placing his feet to the ground, Diakese lifts him up and slams him not once but pretty much twice. It's Diakese really kind of showing that wrestling base in this fight. Going into the second, again, a lot of the same kind of work where Diakese waited for an opportunity to shoot him for the takedown and was able to land it pretty easily. With these takedowns in the second round, he goes for more attempts at submissions rather than just control. Threatens an arm triangle. When Borshev is able to get off his feet, he does look pretty dangerous. But we know that Mark Diakese is also dangerous whilst he's on his feet, so he was giving pretty much as good as he was getting from Borshev. And again, when the space was there and the opportunity was there, Diakese went straight for the takedown and was able to land it pretty much again with ease. And we ended that second round with Diakese on top, landing punches in the ground and pound. Going into the third, it's it takes DKZ a little bit of more time to maybe initiate his game plan. Borshev very nervy, knowing that essentially he's 2 rounds down with that wrestling base, and that he needed to do something in this round, but he didn't want to kind of overstretch and leave himself open. So he was looking for his opportunity for the big shot. DKZ able to use that to his advantage and get the back of Borshev once again, and the crowd really kind of started to get restless of this, and you can kind of understand why, because they've spent the last 3 hours watching decision after decision, and the first fight on the main card looks like it's going to decision, and eventually it did. DKZ really kind of controlled it on the ground. Not a lot in terms of really looking as if he was going to finish, but it did more than enough to guarantee that every judge gave him all 3 rounds for a well-deserved victory. Now, if there's a fight that you would have put money on this undercard not going to decision, it was this next fight. Max Griffin taking on Neil Magny in the welterweight division. Both these guys love finishing fights. Both these guys hard hitters. Max Griffin and Neil Magny just absolute animals when it comes to knocking fools out in this welterweight division, and I honestly thought in the first round we were going to get that. Both guys really landing some big shots. Griffin mixing up with leg kicks. Neil Magny more useful with that boxing style that he's so good at. But in this first round, it was actually Griffin that was looking the fresher, the more aggressive. He landed some huge shots and put Neil Magny essentially put his lights out. Magny went into survival mode, followed up with some really tight defence. To make sure that the incoming shots from Griffin didn't do as much damage. Griffin, for me, was a little bit nervy in coming in and really getting the job finished, which I think gave Magny the opportunity to not only regain his senses and his motor functions, but also to start firing back. And he was able to land some big shots to the point where it was actually Max Griffin who was on the back foot, and he was the one kind of trying to make space and reset the fight in the centre of the octagon. We end the round with Griffin trying to fire some jabs of his own down the part before the klaxon goes. Tight round. Maybe it should have been a little bit more cut and dry. Had Griffin capitalised on that early rocking of Magny, but he didn't, and Magny was able to put the decision in doubt with the referees for that. So second round, and it started to be a little bit more heated. The guys were clearly not massive fans of each other, but Magny really kind of started to turn up the pressure. His counter-punching was a lot better in this round, really kind of waiting for Griffin to throw and miss his shots and land the better shots himself. There was a little bit of an accidental eye poke from Griffin. But it was quickly sorted out, and we basically reset back in the middle. Griffin putting together some good combinations that worried Magny, and then once we get to the kind of the midpoint of the round, both guys just started to just lump each other, just tearing strips off each other, just standing and banging. But Magny was the one who was kind of keeping the forward momentum going, goes for the takedown, not able to kind of pull it off, but makes enough room to hit Griffin with some big shots again. Magny is really trying to push the pace and force Griffin onto the back foot. slips on one of the opportunities to lay a punch in. Is able to get back to his feet relatively quickly though. Lands a massive right hand, some big elbows. Magny clinches up against the fence, starts to lane some punches, and really kind of, at least in the judge's mind, must have levelled this fight up after that first round, which you would have thought went to Griffin. Third round, this was all to play for, and it was quite clear that Neil Magny was the guy who wanted to win this. He wanted it more. He was the hungrier fighter. He was, again, kind of like the first two rounds. There were a lot of really good on the feet work from both fighters, but in this round, Magny was able to use his wrestling skills to get the fight to the ground, and was able to get the back of Griffin, looking for a rear naked choke. He ends up actually backpacking on Griffin when Griffin gets back to his feet, but he's too high up and Griffin is able to slide out, which then gives him the opportunity to get at the back. Magny turns that into a Kimura, then just keeps the wrestling really, really tight. Last 30 seconds or so, Griffin is able to break out and goes for his own takedown, which is defended by Neil Magny, essentially lifting Max Griffin up and dumping him face first onto the canvas. Landing some shots to look for the finish, but he's unable to do so. We go to the judges, and this is a really tight decision for the judges to make, and they end up actually going for a split decision, with two judges giving the fight to Magny 29-28. So yeah, big result for Magny. This could have easily been a banana skin for him, with him being ranked in the top 10 and Max Griffin just on the periphery of that. But he survives, and Neil Magny's looking to really force his way into perhaps title contention. So let's get into the top half of this card now. We had a huge fight in the men's flyweight division with Askarov taking on Kakar of France. Both these guys essentially looking to stake a claim for a potential title shot. Obviously, we know Askarov is part of that Eastern European, Dagestanian elite level wrestling, and Kakar of France. He's more of a brawler style, using his boxing to win his fights. And this was a real kind of styles clash. First round, Askarov essentially just was going for takedown after takedown after takedown. Lifting Kakar France up off the ground, carrying him around. Kai is able to prevent himself from getting slammed, but the fact that Askarov was able to just essentially have his way with him, with looking for the takedowns and the submissions. There was a point where Kakar France was locked in a rear naked choke and a body lock, and Carr, it almost looked over, but he was able to defend the submission, get back to his feet. Askarov did keep hold of the body triangle and kind of backpacked Kakar of France, but Askarov wasn't able to cinch in the rear naked choke that he was looking for. Carr's defence was absolutely on point, so Askarov had to resort to hard shots with elbows and punches. Carr really kind of weathering the storm in this first round, able to survive. Coming out for the second round, he starts to try and use his boxing range, landing more jabs. Carr does catch Askarov really clean and stumbles him for a little bit. The crowd went absolutely wild about that. Askarov though went into survival mode and was able to go in for the takedown, but Carr was scrambled straight back to his feet, separated, and started to land some huge shots, especially that left hand, which he kept cocked pretty much all the fight. That was starting to really find its target. Askarov circled around trying to look for the position to go for the takedown, but this gave Carr the opportunity to press the pace. But unfortunately, he kind of started to back off and end up being up against the fence, which gave Askarov the opportunity to go for the takedown. Didn't quite pull it off, was kind of scrambling to keep hold of that single leg. Carr is able to free himself from that, starts absolutely lighting up Askarov. Every single punch was popping Askarov's head clean back. Carr, very sensible though, doesn't empty the gas tank, and Askarov is able to absorb a lot of the shots. But it was certainly a much better round for Carr France going into the third, and both fighters really looking to press the victory, throwing a lot of wild shots. But the action does come to a bit of a halt when Askarov lands a kick on the inside of the upper leg of Carr, but the momentum took it into the baby makers, and Carr's given a few minutes to recover, and that kind of takes the momentum away from Askarov a little bit. He starts by trying to go for a head kick, which misses, and Carr's able to land a low kick, which means Askarov goes down to the floor, quickly back up, goes for the takedown. Askarov ends up on backpacking again on Carr with a body triangle, but this time Carr's able to shake him off. But Askarov straight away, like that little ankle biting nipper, straight back for the legs. Carr again breaks out of this attempt to takedown, gets back to the centre of the cage. We see a little bit, maybe both guys are feeling a little bit tired. The action does slow down a little bit. Askarov is able to press a little bit more as Kai's feinting the jabs. But he walks into some big combinations from Carr. Carr does throw some hooks which are pretty wide and miss, but he does then shoot for a takedown, ironically. Gives up on it quick and goes back to laying in punches. And as we get to the end of the round, Carr France starts to land some good shots again. Askarov goes for the takedown, which is stuffed, but we do end up with a clinch up against the fence. Goes to the judges, and in a massive upset, I think Carr was the biggest underdog on the card, or on the main card at least. Carr is able to pick up that victory and beat Askarov for I think that's his first loss of his career. So it's a big victory for Carr France, and straight away he's calling out for a title shot. And honestly, can you blame him? It was a big victory for him. So next up, we are into the welterweight division. Two veteran fighters, shall we say, here in the UFC. Between them, I think they've had 70 plus fights here in the UFC. So two definite veterans, and two guys known for standing and banging, for absolutely beating the living shit out of their opponents. Bryan Barberena and immortal Matt Brown. Touch gloves, and straight away we're off to the races. Barberena landing some huge shots, Brown landing some of his own, Barberena going for leg kicks, Brown going for head kicks. This was a 3-round absolute war of a fight. I mean, there's so much action went on in this 15 minutes that it's actually hard to give a breakdown. So it makes more sense to just go for some of the highlights. So we see things like Superman punches from both guys, Brown does one that misses, so he gets one that actually lands from Barberena. We see Barberena blocking head kicks, landing big rights of his own. Matt Brown does a hip toss to throw Barberena to the mat, and this has all just happened in the first round. Going into the second round, we see a lot more with the leg kicks from both guys. Barberena, Brown does actually land a shot to the groin, but Barberena waves it off, wants to carry on fighting. Brown landing kicks to the head, kicks to the body, really kind of mixing it up. Barberena hurts Matt Brown with a big elbow, goes to swarm. Matt Brown finds the way to get the takedown, which stops him getting any more damage. Ends up high on the back of Barberena, slips backwards off the top, which gives Barberena to lay in some punches before they get back to the feet in the clinch. Matt Brown looked dazed, he looked rocked, but he's able to survive and take some big shots from Barberena and fire back with shots of his own. His elbows were absolutely brutal. Going into the third round, and you would think that these two guys could not keep up this pace for another 5 minutes. Well, you would think absolutely wrong, because they start with kicks to the body and jabs. Barberena tries to do a flying knee, which just misses. Brown sweeps the foot. We see Barberena on the floor for a second or so. He's able to get back up, but then Brown uses that to gain the clinch and get up against the fence, get some big knees to the body. Barberena lands some more power punches. Brown goes for the tie clinch, tries to get the elbows. Barberena is able to avoid them and break out. We see Matt Brown power through with a double leg to finally get the fight to the canvas. Again, back up to the feet within seconds. Just as we get to the last 45 seconds of the fight, they just go hell for leather and just start absolutely wailing on each other, almost bum fighting style, where they were just throwing and hitting and landing and banging. The crowd were absolutely eating this up. In this little exchange, Bryan Barberena did seem to get the better of Matt Brown. You can see Matt Brown kind of his eyes glaze over a little bit and become a little bit dazed. But what a fight, what a great fight to watch. Very, very entertaining. Another close decision for the judges to make, and another split decision with two judges giving the fight to Bryan Barberena. So yeah, what an entertaining fight for UFC fans. So let's get into these two actual finishers on the card. The first one coming in the co-main event, Alexa Grasso taking on Joanne Wood. Alexa has had a lot of potential in this women's flyweight division, but just as she seems to kind of get some momentum going, she's been pinned back quite a bit. But this new Alexa Grasso seems to have a lot of more passion and more drive about her, and she certainly showed that in this fight. Started pretty strong for Grasol, landing a good punch combination, using her forward momentum to get a takedown, which gets Joanne Wood on her back. Grasso is able to land a lot of punches whilst in top position, but Joanne Wood was firing back from off her back, so Alexa Grasso certainly had a lot to think about. Alexa lands some shots to the body, but eventually the fight does stand back up, and we get back to the centre of the octagon with some more exchanges of shots. Wood landing some decent combinations, 1-2 kick punches. Wood goes for a knee which just missed, and opens up for Grasso to lay in a punch, and a front kick to the body, spinning elbow for Wood. but Grasso is able to just about duck it, get hold and get the takedown. This time she ends up with the control of Joanne Wood's back, gets a rear naked choke locked in, very, very tight, and Joanne Wood is forced to tap. Great victory for Alexa Grasso. Really well played. And like I said, she's had a career in the UFC where she's not lived up to that potential. Right now, she certainly is. And she called out the flyweight champion, which is fair play to her. I mean, a lot of these women's divisions are pretty threadbare when it comes to top level talent, so I think Alexa Grasso will be a very worthy contender right now. She's certainly got the momentum for it, and this was a good victory against a very, very dangerous opponent. So let's talk main event now. Curtis Blaydes and Chris Daukaus. Curtis, one of the most rounded fighters on the UFC heavyweight roster, great on the feet, great at wrestling, but just seems to fall at the final hurdle. And Chris Daukaus, in his 6 fights in the UFC, has really kind of made an impression. And I think he's only been in the company for 18 months or so, he's really done well to kind of make a name for himself. So as we start this fight, we see Curtis Blaydes. Now, you would think with him having the wrestling background that wouldn't be his go-to, but Curtis does sometimes like to play the games the hard way, and he actually wants to stand and bang with Darkus. Lands a few early jabs. Darkus is able to kind of fire back and really give Curtis something to chew on. Curtis does land a good combination of left hand and left leg kick. We see a couple of big rounds traded, but when they are traded, you can see that the sting of Curtis's shots really start to affect Chris Daukaus. We see Curtis land a good inside leg kick. Then Daukaus tries to charge forward with a combo, kind of like a blitzkrieg, but Curtis is able to avoid that. Lands a good shot, which opens up a cut over the left eye of Daukaus. He then lands a really good left after kind of a feinting with the right. But we see then an accidental eye poke from Curtis Blaydes' thumb, which just catches Daukaus in the same eye that he was cutting. So that leads to a kind of little bit of a break, which after they resume, only had a couple of seconds to go, so no real kind of a change in the action there. But when we come out to the second round, we see that Curtis Blaydes feints a punch. Daukaus goes for a right, which Curtis is able to avoid, lands a beautiful shot to counter, sends Chris Daukaus flying to the ground, swarmed by Blaydes, some heavy ground and pound. Herb Dean pulls him off, and what a finish for Curtis Blaydes. And kind of like Alexa Grasso, he called his shot after the fight, and he said he wants that interim title shot against Cyril Gagne. And we know that Dana is heavily considering another interim heavyweight champion, even though Francis Ngannou just put pay to his last interim champion. But Francis, he's needing surgery, and there's still the contract issues up in the air, so it's very likely that we'll see Curtis Blaydes in another title shot very, very soon. Not saying it's not deserved, but it's just the interim title things does absolutely nothing for me at all. But yeah, that's pretty much this card wrapped up. In terms of the next card, we actually miss a week because UFC does not want to compete with WrestleMania, and what it actually will mean as well is that 5 Rounds is going to miss a week because I've been going hard on this show for the last 5 years or so. Some issues have been happening in my personal life with our family, so I'm gonna take perhaps this is a bit of a rest and a bit of a refresh, but we'll be coming back to you for the next card, which is UFC 273, headlined by double title matches in the bantamweight. We've got the match between Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan to combine those bantamweight titles, and then in the featherweight division, we've got Korean Zombie getting his shot against Alexander Volkanovski. But this card is absolutely stacked because we've got Kelvin Gastelum taking on Nasruddin Imavov. We've got Mackenzie Dern taking on Tisha Torres, and we've got Gilbert Burns taking on Hamzat Chimaev. So that's a massive, massive card. So that will be week ending the 11th. So yeah, definitely tune into 5 rounds for that. But other than that, that's me signing off. So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at PodfatherMags. Follow Carlos at Kirby_Carlos, and follow the show at 5 Rounds Pod. Definitely go and check out some more of the amazing talent on the networks that we are proud to be a part of. That's here on Radio Tekkers, Visionaries Global Media, and The Chair Shot. But that is all from me for now. Thank you all for listening, and that is the end.
He hurt him big time. He's trying to finish.